You've worked on some non-music things as well. I think you won a Grammy for working with Robin Williams on his stand-up special. How was that process like making music? How was that different? How did that come about?
It's probably more fun, different, because, working with Robin was one of my dearest friends, and working with him, essentially, it was an interesting thing making that album, because one of the questions we were talking to each other about was, why are we making it into an album? Because that was the point. Comedy albums used to be huge.
Yeah.
There are comedy albums, Alan Sherman, Bob Newhart, Bill Cosby, sold millions of albums.
Millions,
because that was the only way. And most of them were just live albums of their act. And that was...
Because this is pre-Comedy Central, obviously pre-streaming.
Pre all that.
The way you put comedy into a way to...
Into your home was audio, right? So then suddenly we're at this crazy moment where you have options. You could get, you could buy a CD with an hour of comedy on it with no pictures. Or for a few dollars more, you could get 2 hours with pictures, which is completely illogical. It makes no sense. We understand why DVDs can hold 2 hours and CDs can hold an hour. But to the outside observer, what do you mean an hour without pictures? But if I add pictures, I get 2 hours? That's ridiculous. So why would anybody want to buy a comedy album when they can buy...
Well, just to say, for people that don't know, it was because CDs were a format that held a certain amount of megabytes on it. DVDs held 6 or 7 times as much, and therefore...
Exactly, even though they're the same size and they look identical. That's what is like mystifying to all but the most techie people. But so in that particular instance, we knew this little tour Robin was doing was going to end with a show in New York, which would be filmed by HBO, which would be the DVD, which would be the video version. So what I said was, look, what we can do that's different is we can go out and record every night and choose the best versions of all these stuff you do.
For the audio version.
For the audio version. So there is the video version, which is one particular show from beginning to end with video, the show in New York, the HBO performance for them. And the other version is me choosing all the best bits from every night. Because some stuff he did the same, like how golf was invented, which is a brilliant piece. Right. I got to choose the most brilliant one, the funniest one, and do the same with the whole show. So I like to think that our version is better in the sense, but it is only audio. And the other thing we did was he would do the first 10 minutes of every night would be jokes about the town we were in. So the minute Robin got off the plane, he would be talking to the limo driver, to the baggage guy, to the check-in people at the hotel about what was happening in town. What's the sports team at? What's the mayor up to? What's the scandal? What's going on? He'd have all this information. So by the time he went on stage, he would do 10 straight hilarious minutes about the city we were in.
Right.
So I said, what we better do then is let's do 2 CDs. One CD is each of the 20 cities separately. And then the second CD would be the best bits of all the rest of the stuff in the show. So that's how we made it different from the DVD, to make them feel at least they were getting, their money's worth. And it worked. People liked it. They liked the DVD as well. They're both brilliant. And some of the same bits, but never the same takes. I didn't use anything from the New York show, and they didn't use anything from the road. So they make an interesting sort of companion piece to each other. But it was, of course, amazing fun to do, because Robin would be, practicing stuff, trying out stuff all the time. The minute, 10 minutes before the show, we'd have him mic'd up and we'd just roll the machines, And that was, luckily, of course, that was the relatively early days, but at least we could do that digitally. So all you needed, was a couple of audience mics, a couple of mics on Robin for safety, And I was miking the stage as well so that I could get a little sense of his movement and things. But that all just went into a laptop. And we sat, Nathaniel Kunkel, my engineer, and I sat at the side of the stage making feverish notes, of course, because the whole trick was to remember which bits were great, which nights. So you didn't have to listen to everything all over again, starting from scratch.
So you went on the whole tour with him?
It was only about 3 weeks, but yes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm thinking of parallels to record production as you talk about it. You're hearing essentially the song demo and pre-production and live versions of all these jokes as they're being developed and refined.
Exactly, and different takes. Exactly, yes.
And then making decisions from there. That's very cool.
Yeah, and Robin didn't want to be particularly involved in those decisions. You know, his attention span is not that kind of concentration. Because, you know, we'd end up, but didn't he say this actual line better because he flubbed it in Omaha, you know? I think we have it better in Cleveland or whatever. And so it was quite a meticulous process, and he's more of a overall picture kind of guy.
Why do you think he said, I need a record producer, or was it, I need Peter, I need you, because you have these skills? Like, what is I assume you hadn't done lots of comedy albums in the past.
No, never. I had not. And it was never a Grammy I had any ambitions of getting. It was best comedy album.
Comedy album winner.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they just came out of conversations between Robin and me about the nature of the record and the fact that they'd asked him to do one, and he was doing this DVD thing. And I came up with the idea of how we could make it different and better. I hustled for the job, in other words.